So I just came back from a really interesting Amazon recruiting event in New York, and so I thought I would document this and share this experience in case anyone's interested or if it's useful to you guys. So some goodies to share. This is for the Finance and Global Business Services by Amazon. This is a pamphlet that I got. And basically, it's an event that kind of goes over the overview of all of the different financial sectors that are within Amazon. And it's broken out into AWS, Amazon Web Services, accounting, customer experience, devices, finance operations, financial planning analysis, media entertainment, treasury, and tax. The event was held at Ideal Glass Studios. It's near Astor Place for those of you guys who know New York, downtown area of Manhattan. And I would say there were about 100 over attendees. It comprises of either recruiters from all the different sectors to the actual hiring managers and to people who have had experience in Amazon within these departments, including the speakers themselves. Some Amazon merch. Oops, the other way. It's a little tote bag that just says Amazon. And inside, it came with a little notepad that also states Amazon. It's lined. I didn't take notes in there because I just took notes in my pamphlet and a little pen. So these are the little merch that I've gotten. The event took place from 5:30 p.m. all the way to about 8 p.m. and it was divided into 3 different sections. So the first section, when you first arrive, you check in with the recruiters and they have little stations at different corners. You can go up and speak to recruiters and just Amazon employees who are around the location. In front, there was a little panel set up where there are chairs lined up across the rooms and you can take a seat. I spoke to one recruiter who reached out to me over LinkedIn. That was how I got invited to this roadshow recruiting event in the first place. So I went up to him, introduced myself, and mentioned that, he was the recruiter that reached out to me, so it was really nice to see him in person. And then we discussed a little bit about our backgrounds, how he flew in from Michigan, but his location was stationed in Seattle. He flew into New York to just sort of set up this event. And apparently, this networking session is pretty new. It was supposed to be held last year, but because of COVID, it got pushed back to this year. And the next week they are going to Seattle to host this networking event again. So I went there for a tax position and to understand more about what the tax opportunities are in Amazon. For tax specifically, the positions are mainly located in Seattle and Arlington, Virginia. I can give you a little bit of background over each of these divisions. Amazon Web Services, in terms of finance, that's mainly to do with AWS, and they have a reinvention conference every year. The person who spoke was the director at AWS Finance. She actually went from accounting M&A in Luxembourg to a program manager and then to AWS in the US. So, moving across different countries is possible. And in the accounting department, the speaker was mainly in healthcare, so Amazon Care. And, they do the regular monthly close. They have some automations, financial reporting and disclosure. operations, internal controls. So anything that's related to accounting, that's what that branch is mainly for. Customer experience and business trends. So this sector kind of interacts a lot with the goods and services that Amazon has. So including, fashion, exports, developing like Alexa, video, music, games. And then in devices, these are all the Amazon devices that you can think of, right? So like Fire, Kindle, App Store, sales and marketing, self-driving cars, and so they deal with any finance related items in this area. For financial operations, it has anything to do with procurement, transactional finance, payables, so anything to do with operations. FP&A, so these are corporate FP&A, so it deals a lot on the business side of things, thing to do with forecasting across different sectors, so it has a more oversight of the entire business rather than just being focused on devices or say customers or finance operations. The gaming, media, entertainment, this one's very specific to Prime Video, music, games. Treasury, I would say, just based on what I understand, it seems like Treasury is the largest part of these finance sectors. And recently they issued like an 18.5 billion bond issuance. So they have they're trying to grow the insurance branch and support cross sectors like enterprise and risk, internal audit, and last but not least, tax. So tax, based on what I understand, it's a very specialized breakdown. So you don't have like a generalist type of, you do a mixture of federal tax plus international tax plus state and local. So all these are divided into different areas and different areas of specialization. So for tax planning, they have a specific team, compliance, audit, policy, direct versus indirect taxes, consolidation. They have, internal, so U.S. Domestic taxes versus international taxes, and they have specific people that are in charge of different countries as well. Hopefully this is helpful. After the speakers introduced themselves, that was the networking session from 7 to 8 p.m. So in terms of that, I mainly focused on FP&A and tax because these were the areas that I think would be best suited for my next transition to be. I spoke with Sean Haley, who was the director in U.S. tax policy, and he, his background was really interesting. He actually drafted a number of bills and legislative acts for TCJA, which is the tax reform, Tax Jobs and Cuts Act back in 2017. So he drafted that version before that, and then he moved on to Amazon to assist on coming up with new legislative acts. Another person I spoke with was Susan. So she's mainly in charge of tax integration, and she's mainly involved on the tax compliance side, and it seems like they do like worldwide taxes, so anything that comes from the subsidiaries and different branches, different entities that flows up into the consolidation. They also work on new entities that come in, that got acquired, tax planning related items, also just improving their processes and internal controls, because Amazon's growing really rapidly, so audit's gonna become a huge part. So how I got invited into this recruiting roadshow network event was through one of the tax recruiters at Amazon in the finance and global business services area. So he reached out to me on LinkedIn and just proposed this roadshow to me and mentioned that, hey, we're hosting this recruiting event in New York. It seems like you'll be a suitable candidate. If you're interested, here's the link. Please RSVP. So for the longest time, I did not respond back, because just being in Big Four, you have a lot of recruiters who will reach out to you via LinkedIn. And so personally for me, I wasn't sure if this was like a legit event in the first place, if this recruiter was actually part of Amazon versus like a third-party service that helps Amazon recruit. So I put it off for a long while and focused on the other processes of my job search. Because this event was held in the middle of April, I started my job search from the beginning of March. And so for me, this was quite a bit later into my job search, and I didn't want this to be the focus. And because just knowing Amazon as a larger business, it might take quite a while to go through the entire process. I was told anywhere from 2 weeks to a month, but one of the positions that I actually applied had the status changed to under consideration, but it has already been 1 month since that application. So I wasn't putting my eggs in one basket. I wasn't waiting on this. So the day before this event, I decided to RSVP and just go and take a look just in case it turns out to be legit. And it did. So I'm glad I went. It was a very interesting experience for sure. Learned a lot about how they operate, and obviously as a big business you do need a lot of specializations involved. Just being around in that room and listening to what their experience have been, which is very, very diverse, and I learned that actually diversity and inclusion is a very important part of their recruitment process. So that's very comforting to hear, especially in this day and age. Yeah, one tip I would say would be, even though the dress code for this event was casual, but everyone essentially dressed up as business casual. So including myself, I wore a more formal dress. Another tip that I have is make sure you are prepared, right? If you really are interested in looking for this position. So maybe looking up some of the roles that you're interested in, understand what the job descriptions are. So when you connect with the recruiter or when you connect with one of the employees, you have questions in mind to ask. Another advice I would say is bring your resume. I noticed a lot of people did not bring their resumes. Electronic copies obviously are welcome, but I think just connecting with someone, and once you have that connection, if you have a copy of resume to pass to them physically, it helps you make an impact so that the manager could remember you better, and that you have your contact details on there as well. And I know that everyone who has joined the event would be emailed a link and would be emailed follow-ups after the event, but I think just making a personal connection, that is the more the merrier, right? Hi, so one additional advice or tip that I have as I'm editing this is that I was speaking to one of the hiring managers, and she mentioned that, don't be afraid to apply for a position that's somewhat higher or than where you're currently at, because there is usually somewhat of a flexibility in terms of someone they're looking to add into the team. So for instance, if you're a senior that only has 4 to 5 years of experience and you're applying for a position that has maybe 7 years of experience, they may still take you into consideration. And sometimes there is flexibility in that once they receive your resume, they might determine that, oh, hey, this person actually could take on the role that we're looking for, or that there is potential that this person would be able to meet that requirement in a year or so. So they're still willing to take into consideration candidates that have that potential or that hasn't met the requirements they have specifically listed out. So hope that helps. That's all I have. For you, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out in the comments below. If there are any updates to this, I'll be sure to keep you posted. Thank you.